Are you serious? Are you serious? I am very serious, and I'm very sorry for this long, lengthy delay. We had a pretty powerful thunderstorm here and lightning and pretty crazy. So thank you for your patience, but I am very sorry. That generally does not happen. Anyway, welcome everybody to the Coming Apocalypse. I'm Pastor Paul Begley. We're going to be talking about the Black Swan event for 2024. But first, put a shout out to getnativepath.com/Paul. That's getnativepath.com/Paul. Heart disease, blood clots, strokes, kidney failure. This all can be found, apparently, in the back of an ibuprofen bottle. And to top it off, ibuprofen doesn't even get to the main cause of your pain and swelling problems. It's only temporary pain relief, and it's only masking the true problem, which is inflammation. This isn't a solution to your pain, but right now you can go to getnativepath.com/Paul to learn more and see your special offer for all Publicly Prophecy listeners. It is pretty amazing. And I'm kind of stunned by it. Actually, it's not only downright amazing. It's encouraging, to be honest with you. I'm taking about omega-3 fatty acids, but not just any form of omegas. There are omega-3 fatty acids sourced from wild-caught krill. The omega-3 content from krill oil has been shown to support healthy blood pressure, circulation, brain health, and as well as reduced inflammation, swelling, and joint pain. In fact, it will outperform ibuprofens or Advil, Tylenol, of those. It doesn't have the dangerous side effects mentioned above. And for a limited time, you can grab nativepath.com/Paul. Go to nativepath.com/Paul. You'll be glad you did. So what is a black swan? Well, a black swan event is when something happens that is absolutely unexpected. As a matter of fact, there's even an actual definition. A black swan is an unpredictable event that's beyond what is normally expected of a situation and has potentially severe consequences. Black swan events are characterized by their extreme rarity, severe impact, and widespread insistence that they were obvious in hindsight. In other words, you don't expect it, but then once it happens, you say, wow, why didn't I see this coming? Okay. Why didn't any of us see this coming? Speaking of Black Swans, don't forget to get your ticket for Aliens Among Us. Okay. Aliens Among Us webinar. It's really going to be good. BP Earthwatch just joined on, and other speakers are coming, as we mentioned earlier. So don't miss it. So let me just share with you something. I just want to look at possible scenarios. Okay, possible scenarios, but probably won't happen, but possibly could. Like a nuclear face-off between the United States and Russia. That's very possible, since they're talking to each other now about canceling their nuclear agreements. There could be a Chinese recession that would affect our economy, believe it or not. Military escalations that go beyond what we expected. For instance, Russia, Ukraine. We know it's going on, and we know it's been going on over 2 years. But what if it went to another whole level, like tactical nukes or bioweapons used on civilians and mass casualties? That would create a black swan event, but in hindsight, we probably would have said we saw this coming. The Russia-U.S. nuclear standoff, we've known about Cold Wars for a long, long, long time. But we really think it's going to be okay because that's been going on for so long. But that could be the major black swan event of 2024 is if some type of tactical nukes were used by Russia or the United States or both on each other or on others. Number 3, and this is real serious, the election results. The actual results of the election could cause a black swan late in the year in November or December. I mean, I'm serious about this. It could happen. And if it does, if some major financial meltdown takes place because of the results of the election, we could say in hindsight, we should have seen this coming. And then there's the Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas regional war with Israel in the Holy Land that could cause massive problems with oil distribution and shipping lanes in the Red Sea and in the Straits of Gibraltar, or maybe around the Horn of Oman or in the Mediterranean. It could cause it could create a black swan event. For instance, the price of crude oil could go to $200 a barrel. And then that means the price of gasoline in America would skyrocket to about $5 and $6 a gallon. This is a possibility. We hope not. But if it does happen, we'll look back and say, I should have seen this coming. And what about the skyscrapers? These buildings all over the major cities across America that are empty, office space that's no longer being used. Nobody's renting this expensive office space. More people are working at home than ever before. This change in work office culture has created a major problem for those that own large corporate commercial properties that now sit empty. They 25% of all the major office space in the major cities are empty, yet the people who built these buildings still have to pay the bank, yet their occupancy is way low, and the people who are still there are trying to get out of their leases for cheaper leases or threaten to just shut it down and send all their workers home. So this commercial property bubble, in my opinion, is going to burst. A lot of these loans to build these buildings are coming due in 2025. And they're known as balloon payments. And if the people who have these loans can't make those payments, then banks are going to be, repossessing buildings, and the banks don't want to do that. That's for sure, because then they got a big white elephant, and they can never recover their losses. And then the companies that get foreclosed on, they end up having to close their companies, and because they can't survive. And people then start losing jobs by the hundreds of thousands, if not a million a month. And when that starts happening, then mortgages don't get paid and car payments don't get paid. And you have the same thing we had after 2001, on 9/11, which was, September 11th, 2001, 9/11 was a black swan event. It was unexpected. It shocked the world. It created massive financial stress. And in hindsight, we should have seen it coming. Then in 2008, 2007, 2008, just as Barack Obama was leaving office, we had this incredible meltdown of the real estate market, the real estate bubble, the S&L crisis, they call it, where all these bad loans, and when I mean by bad loans, it means the banks loaned people money to buy houses that they had no possible way that they could ever afford to pay for them. Or there was a dangerous loan. And all of a sudden, this bubble burst and people started foreclosing everywhere, and banks had to foreclose everywhere. And it was just, it really affected the economy. So here we are now. It's 2024. It is an election cycle. And the possibility of another meltdown is out there. Now, the economy is still cruising along. And as long as there's not a meltdown, we'll be okay. But there's things that could cause it, like a massive regional war that would include more nations than just Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas against Israel, or a major conflict between Russia and other NATO countries besides Ukraine, or some crazy events taking place in the 2024 election. Or I'll give you another one. Just if the president of the United States had to step down because of health problems or what have you, Kamala Harris taking over the Oval Office would probably create a black swan event. And what I mean by that is it would just be a shocking, nobody know where we're going. Not sure what the ramifications of that would be. And people would start pulling back spending like crazy and embracing themselves, even though it would only be for a few months till after the election was over. It still would be a black swan event, yet we should have seen this coming. And then there's Bitcoin. I mean, the rise of the cryptocurrencies, the explosion of the values of these cryptocurrencies. And then there's the brick currency that's trying to be formed by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, called BRICS. What does that mean to the US dollar? And could that cause the US currency to plummet, which would then set everything in a tailspin around the world? It would certainly be a black swan moment. And then there's the potential of a major earthquake, catastrophic super volcano eruption, or some other type of unforeseen natural disaster of biblical proportion, like an asteroid impact or something like that. And if, for instance, if Tonga supervolcano exploded, or the supervolcano under Italy, or Yellowstone, or a massive Cascadia subduction zone earthquake like 1700, wiping and killing 8 to 10 million people on the West Coast. I mean, these kinds of events are very possible, probably not, but possible. And if they did, it would create a black swan event because it would be unforeseen and devastating, but we should have seen it coming. The signs are everywhere. And so this is the time we're living in. We're having these potential landmines that are placed in many different locations in our global thinking. And we don't know what's going to happen next. You could guess, your guess would be as good as mine. I'm giving you just a few that linger out there of possibilities. And would the global elitist, would they use a black swan event to create a new one world currency? Would that be the moment? Would that be the moment that a new currency would be released to salvage global inflation and global debt? In other words, a reset. We call it the Great Reset. This is what Klaus Schwab has been talking about for the last 6-7 years. That's why he wrote a book called The Great Reset. And he keeps predicting that a major black swan event will create a great reset, which would bring forth a one world currency. And so I'm just bringing it up. Do I think there's going to be a black swan event in 2024? No, but I just gave you several lingering possibilities that could create this event, which would then create massive chaos in the world, which would then create the world's need for peace and security, a global leader, a new economic system, because you'd have every unbelievable nations of the world whose currencies would collapse. And let's say the United States and the euro would drastically take major hits, that to the point that it would wipe out half the nation's finances. And so if an event like that takes place, if an event like that would create that much chaos, I think that the global elitist would come forward with their one world currency plan. And that could happen, folks. That could happen if any of these major scenarios that I just mentioned, which are all lingering, if any of those took place. And you would see this major confiscation of private property. You would see a disregard for human rights. You would see mandated curfews globally. You would see confiscation of lots of things. And you would see a new world order. Give your life to Jesus Christ. He's coming back. He's coming back. Just like he said. I'll tell you one more event that would absolutely cause the world the greatest chaos that the world would ever see. And that would be the rapture. The people leaving are in great shape. But if the dead in Christ rise, and everyone that's redeemed by the blood of the Lamb leave this world simultaneously, this would cause the most extreme event in the history of the world. And you would not, trust me, you would not want to be left behind. I'll be back with more current world events and how they relate to biblical prophecy. It could happen, folks. And if it does, people will look back in hindsight and say, I should have seen this happening. I knew it was lingering. I should have seen that Jesus was coming to rapture his bride. Are you saved?